The Olympic Games. Who doesn't love the Olympics? A celebration of human strength, speed, and discipline. Unless, of course, you're talking about the 1904 Olympics, which were a bit more like a Monty Python sketch. The year was 1904. The Olympics were being held in St. Louis, Missouri, although I'm told older residents pronounce it Missouri. Is that right? Any Missourians watching can confirm or deny that, Missouri. Anyway, those marathon runners taking part in the 1904 Olympics probably called it Misery, for reasons which will soon become clear. The Games were being held in the United States for the first time, and let's be honest, it's always difficult when you do something for the first time. Anyway, the 1904 Olympics weren't the hugely expensive global event that they are today with all the fabulously interesting doping scandals and boycotts. They were just kind of bolted on to a much bigger event called the St. Louis World's Fair. This was a grand showcase of human progress, where you could stand and marvel at a full-size cow made entirely out of butter, and displays of exotic foreign culture that today would require a 12-page apology. The Games were treated like just another attraction. You had every chance of being skewered by a javelin while on your way to a steam-powered waffle iron demonstration. Now, the marathon. This was scheduled for August, in the blazing summer heat on dusty, unpaved roads that twisted through Missouri's countryside. Humidity, 90%. Shade, medical oversight, don't be ridiculous. Out of 32 runners who started the race, only 14 finished, and honestly, I'm surprised it was that many. Let's talk about the course. It was 24.85 miles long, not quite a full marathon by today's standards, but still enough to make any sane person want to fake death. There were 7 hills, not gentle rolling ones, but soul-crushing inclines with loose gravel and choking dust. This was not the Sound of Music. The course crossed railway tracks and the roads were not cleared of traffic. Runners were dodging horse-drawn carts. Water? Yes, there was water. 1 water station, 11 miles along the course. Why? Because the organizer, James Sullivan, believed in a new, exciting concept called purposeful dehydration. He wanted to test how far the human body could go without water. Spoiler alert, not far. Sullivan later claimed he wanted to study the effects of dehydration on athletic performance, which, when you think about it, is like saying you threw someone off a roof to test gravity. Now let's meet the contestants. First, we had Fred Laws, an American runner with a strong start. He bolted off the line, looked great until cramps set in, and he dropped out after 9 miles. He didn't even reach the water. But Fred wasn't done. Oh no. He hitched a ride in a car, waving at the crowd as he passed other runners. And then, about 5 miles from the finish, the car broke down. So Fred thought, well, why not? So he got out and ran the rest of the way. He crossed the finish line to thunderous applause. Victory! Way! That is until someone noticed that unlike all the other runners, he wasn't sweating buckets. He claimed it was just a joke, but was banned for life, which was lifted 12 months later, even though he wasn't dead, because apparently Olympic bans had the shelf life of warm milk. Next up, Thomas Hicks, another American. Hicks was a favourite, and also, medically speaking, a walking science experiment. At mile 10, Hicks began to struggle. You notice no one seems to be reaching the water. It must have been like some kind of mirage up ahead, you know. Anyway, he was struggling badly, and his trainers, to all you kids, that's people, not his shoes. He was struggling badly, and his trainers, in their infinite wisdom, gave him a reviving cocktail of raw egg whites, brandy, and, wait for it, strychnine. Or, as it is widely known, rat poison. Because back then, strychnine in small doses was believed to stimulate the nervous system. Apparently death was considered a minor side effect. Hicks kept running, kind of. His body was failing, but his legs were still moving in a haunted marionette-like shuffle. His handlers literally carried him over the finish line while he hallucinated. He won. Let me repeat that. A man tripping on rat poison who had to be held up like off Broadway scenery was declared the victor. But this wasn't just an American mess. Oh no. Enter Len Torniani and Jan Masciani, two runners from South Africa, and if I pronounce their names wrong, I apologize. And they were the first black Africans to compete in the Olympics, to compete even. Compete and complete, I think, the Olympics. They were expected to do well until Len was chased off course by a pack of wild dogs. Seriously, he lost precious time trying not to get rabies and still finished ninth, which is, it was impressive. Meanwhile, Andarin Carvajal, a Cuban mailman, arrived in St. Louis by hitchhiking across the US. He showed up to the race in a long-sleeve shirt, trousers, and street shoes, which was unacceptable attire on so many levels. Anyway, someone gave... Why do they always say that on so many? It's on one level, isn't it? How many levels are there? Anyway, someone gave him some scissors so he could turn his pants into shorts, which he did. All right. He then got hungry mid-race, stopped in an orchard, ate some rotten apples, collapsed with stomach cramps, took a nap, and still finished fourth. The whole event was technically an Olympic race, of course, but in reality, it was more like a weird endurance test / medical emergency. And strangely, it wasn't even the oddest part of the 1904 Games. Several of the events were contested with just one athlete, which, yes, guaranteed gold, but also meant you were essentially just doing exercises in front of strangers. And athletes weren't just confined to one event. They often signed up for whatever was going, leading to gymnasts trying wrestling and wrestlers having a crack at the triple jump. It was less a sporting contest, more a kind of athletic open mic night. And then there was George Azer. I think it's Azer, I don't know. I'm going to say Azer. George Azer. Azer competed for the US in gymnastics and won 6 medals in one day, all while competing with a wooden leg. He lost his real one in a train accident, but that didn't stop him from vaulting, swinging, and climbing his way to gold. These days, he'd have a Netflix documentary and a shoe deal. So yes, it was a mess, and it should have taught the Olympic Committee a valuable lesson, but it didn't. Because the 1912 Olympic marathon was run in such extreme heat that out of 68 runners, only half finished and one actually died. The 1904 marathon wasn't the last time the Olympics flirted with the surreal. In later years, medals were awarded for things like sculpture, music, and even town planning. The only rule was that the artworks had to be inspired by sport. So you could win Olympic gold for writing a sympathy. Sympathy? You could write a sympathy, but I was going to say symphony. You could win an Olympic gold for writing a symphony, but it had to be about a shot putter. Architect Jan Wills won gold in 1928 for designing an Olympic stadium, the actual Olympic stadium they were all standing in. It's not clear if he won for the brilliance of his design or the fact that all the toilets worked. And for a few glorious decades, athletes competed in the standing long jump, an event that was eventually removed for being both too niche and, frankly, too motionless. Time has, of course, changed many things, but the Olympics has never fully escaped their experimental phase. Even now, after the momentary inclusion of breakdancing in the 2024 Olympics, you half expect to hear that someone has won gold in synchronized dog walking or freestyle passive aggression. And that's as it should be, because the Olympics are essentially entertainment. And while the 1904 Games were like someone trying to bake a cake in a wind tunnel, who wouldn't want to watch that?